W5MHG with Yhamradio for February 2015. And we've got W5DOG here. And this month we have, sit down Sammy, we have David, N5OFQ. And he's going to be showing his shack and showing us all the different modes that he's going to be working this year. We hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for Yhamradio.
Might be the drift. That looks pretty good right there. So.
Latest copy Tupper 394 Allison 7-bar loop. It'll be a gray Subaru Legacy New Mexico Marion Young 097 at a high.
Okay, this is Mark again, W5MHG, and we're here with David, N5OFQ.
That's right.
All right, and this is Yhamradio for February, and we're here at his shack, and we have a lot to talk about, as you can see, and a lot of fun things to go over. So, David, first of all, tell us a little bit about how you got into ham radio and why.
Well, I was first licensed in 1989, April of '89. Got my Tech Plus back then, so I did squeeze through with the 5 words per minute code, but just barely. And that's it's Albuquerque PD here in the background there. So before that, I was really into scanning. I liked monitoring. In fact, I used to subscribe to Bob Grove's Monitoring Times, and like to listen to the police and even listen to ham and you know, fire department, whatever was going on around me. And so it just kind of naturally led into ham radio in the late 80s.
Okay, that was in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah, so I was a technician, Tech Plus, for a long time, probably until 2000, I want to say maybe 2009, 10, I don't even remember exactly now, but I went over and Frank helped me get my general.
Frank Warren?
Yep, Frank Warren. And so I got my general, and then about another 2 years later maybe, he helped me get my extra. So I went a long time just playing in the VHF, UHF bands, and then finally decided I needed to get over into HF a little bit more.
So that leads me into my next question. What modes are you really into, and what do you enjoy the most about the hobby?
Well, most of my modes these days are probably digital. I do some PSK 31, although I haven't done much in recent years. But I guess up until a couple of years ago, I was experimenting with PSK 31 quite a bit. Of course, single sideband. Right now, what you hear in the background, I'm decoding some digital frequencies in the 800 megahertz band. That's the Northwest APD dispatch there. And if you'd like, I'll tell you more about it.
Yeah, take us into your shack and show us around and what we're looking at.
All right. Well, this isn't precisely ham radio, as you understand, but radio is radio, and a lot of people have different things they like about it, and this is something that I enjoy. As you know, there's a lot of new things coming on the market. There's Raspberry Pi for people that want to create their own software and do things with small microcomputers. There's these little USB dongles now that are basically software-defined radios. This is a Newelec software-defined radio. Plugs into my computer via USB. It's got the little antenna right here. And what that does is it goes into this computer. I'm listening to the Albuquerque trunking control channel on 851.25, and a program called Unitrunker. It's basically for Universal Trunker. it pulls the trunking information off that channel and decides, oh, there's 15 different channels here, 15 different frequencies that Albuquerque and Bernalillo County can use at any point. And that's fire department, that's the dog catcher, that's the police, you know, Bernalillo County too. So, and then what happens from there is via another USB, the unitrunker tells this scanner over here, this GRECOM PSR 500, tells it what frequency to go to. So this scanner will track with each of these frequencies you see here. And as soon as that happens, the audio from the discriminator output, which I had to modify the scanner to do that, you take the baseband audio, you tap it, and that baseband audio, it's called a discriminator tap, that runs into the audio microphone input of the computer. And then a program called DSD Plus, Digital Speech Decoder Plus, actually listens to that digital audio, and then it will decode it. And of course, the Albuquerque uses Pro Voice, which is proprietary. So it's not a common standard, and so it takes an elaborate setup like this to listen to the police department here. But it is possible.
Right, right. And what made you get started, you know, wanting to do this kind of a setup?
Well, I kind of missed listening to the police like I used to, and they made it real difficult for me. But I'm kind of like a pit bull. Once I get my jaw on something there, I don't want to let go of it. And I just thought, you know, well, I read where there was some people doing this, and I thought, well, it is possible then. And you know, it's not really something that I was that smart about. It's all on Google. You just go find this information. You find the trail other people have blazed for you, and you just put it together. You know, not everything is written there, and some of the problems you may run across, you have to kind of figure out on your own. But most of it's there. Most of how to set this up, most of how to add a discriminator tap to your radio is all online. So it's not rocket science.
Tell us a little about the radios you have and what you use to get on the air.
Sure. And I'm going to turn the audio down from the police here a little bit. So besides that scanner, I have an old one down here. This is an old AR8000 scanner, and I've done a discriminator mod on this as well. This is actually set up to scan the DMR radios in town. You know, some hams are using DMR now, which is a digital standard. And also the D-Star. So I don't know if you can see it scanning through these different channels there, but it's basically scanning the DMR and the D-Star channels. And the same thing would be true. I can run the discriminator tap here, output to the computer. I can start DSD, and it will it'll decode the DMR or the D-Star. So I can, even though I don't have a D-Star ICOM radio, I can still listen to D-Star. You can listen to it with any scanner as long as you can tap the discriminator. If you use just the earpiece out, sometimes it'll work, but more than often not, because by that point it's already been processed, the audio has, and generally it's hard for a computer to decode it, which is why you have to do these discriminator taps. But as you know, I decoded you one day when you were on D-Star, and it works pretty well. So that's my other scanner. I have another shortwave radio down there. This is a Magnum 1012, which is a 10, 11, 12 meter radio. And this is what I was using down at Chalupa Day at the lake in February. 5 watts to talk to people all over the world. I was talking to a guy in Scotland through the KQ2H repeater, 10 meter repeater in upstate New York.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that.
And so that's at 29.620, and I was using this with an external antenna. Obviously, these little whips won't get you around the world too well, but I was using my super antenna vertical. And I was hitting that repeater with 5 watts and talking with a guy on the other side of the world who was also hitting the repeater. So that was pretty fun. I've got a couple other dual banders there. My Yaesu FT60, Kenwood TH F6A. That's the tri-bander. That's my little Baofeng UV3R.
Yeah, almost everybody's got one of those now.
And these, I've got a couple of dozen of these. These are my little Motorola. They're the old Nextel cell phones.
Right.
And these are kind of cool because they work in the 900 megahertz ISM band. In fact, Art's got one too. And they'll work line of sight up to 20 miles or so.
Wow.
But if you get anything in the way, it's pretty much, you don't have the signal because it's line of sight. But these are fully digital frequency hopping spread spectrum. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of fun. In fact, I can demonstrate them real quick to you guys. Why don't you, can you take one of these in your hand or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll put one there. And Art, you can have one of these as well. So let's say that I just want to talk to Mark here. So I'm going to go ahead and punch in his, which is number 4. Hello, Mark. Hello, Mark. But see, Art can't hear us. We've got a private conversation going. And you could.
Fortunately, I could hear you.
You can hear me because I'm in the room. Yep. So now, if I want to talk to Art, his is number 7, so I can do this. Let's see. Are you on?
Turn off?
Oh, did you turn it off?
No. Just went.
Oh.
I think the battery went.
Might have been a bad battery then.
Oh, there it is. Just went to sleep, I guess.
Okay, so let me try 7. Yeah, it's user not available, so let's see what's up with it. I thought it was 7, maybe it's not. Oh, you've got number 1. That's why I'm trying to talk to myself. See, won't let you talk to yourself.
Yeah, you can talk to yourself.
So I've got number 7. So let's see, number 1. Hello, Art.
Hey,
Hello, Art. Now you see Mark's radio's not talking.
Yeah,
So
maybe even, vibrates.
Yeah, vibrates when you get the alert coming in. Now, if I want to talk to both of you, I don't punch in the number ahead of time. I'll just key it down. Hello, hello. See, now you can both hear me. So it's kind of neat. It's you can use these
Pretty cool.
Just around an area for whatever. You can use them for events or whatever, and you can talk to one person, you can talk to the whole group. Anyway, they're kind of fun. They're
And you don't need a license.
you can't scan them. They're 700 milliwatts.
Can you still pick these up on eBay or?
You can still get them on eBay. They're anywhere from $5 to $10 a piece usually.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I chose that model because they have the longest battery life. I have a couple of other ones in here. These are the ones that you normally see for sale. These are the old Motorola i355s.
Oh yeah.
And you can put the external antennas on them. They're pretty nice. So, but I haven't found the range to really be any better. I was over in the Four Hills area one day, and I was able to talk to my wife here. And when I was at Art's house one time, we were able to talk to my wife through his beam. We hooked it up to his beam, and so. But then another day, I think he was on the roof trying to talk to me, and it didn't work. So.
You were going to the church, remember? And it was hit and miss, but it
was
pretty good.
Yeah, so if there's anything blocking it in the way, it doesn't work. But I've got a little 900 megahertz beam here.
Oh yeah.
That I can hook up to them. That's
cool.
Yeah, it's about 10 dBi gain, so that helps 700 milliwatts a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's a good safe way into the antenna situation. You got we see behind you the setup. We're going to stop for a minute. We'll come right back, and you can show us a little bit about your antenna behind you. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, and we're back with David, N5OFQ. And you're going to show us a few things before we go to the antennas here. What are we looking at now, David?
Well, one of the things I was using to track that Albuquerque trunking control channel that I told you about earlier is this software-defined USB dongle. Now this is from N5OFQ. You can get these for 25 bucks, give or take $5 on Amazon or other places. And it's a USB dongle that plugs directly into your computer. This is the antenna connection right here. It comes with this short little antenna, which isn't very good for much beyond the UHF band, unless you've got some strong signals. But what I wanted to demonstrate here on my computer is this program here. This is called SDR Sharp. It's a free software program, software-defined radio, SDR Sharp. And what we're looking at here is just some FM radio frequencies, because those come in strong and they're easy to mess with. So as you can see, I am dialing across the spectrum here, and you can kind of change how this stuff's laid out. You see what's below here looks like a normal waterfall, PSK or something like that. Right. Click on that, and boom, you've got another station. Cool. You can change your frequencies up here with the click of a button. And just go to some other channels, and here you can actually zoom in on it. So if I want to see a little bit more about the spectrum, I can zoom in on that station, and of course you see your waterfall change here on the bottom as well.
Now, is this hard to set up? Or can a novice do this, or anyone just getting the device?
This is pretty much plug and play, because all you have to do is plug that into your computer. If you've got Windows 7, it's pretty easy to set up. I even set it up on XP. There are some things you have to kind of pay attention to, and there's some good documentation on the internet about it, setting up your drivers, because it does need a driver. It's a ZADEG driver, I think it is. ZADEG, if I remember right. But there's instructions on how to do it online, and what you have to do is install the correct driver for that particular device. But once that's done, it's just plug and play. The SDR software here, you can in your settings you can tell it what COM port you're using. It's got an RF gain control here, so you can change your gain if you want to. But anyway, you can pick the frequency, and I don't remember the range that this thing has off the top of my head, but I think it's maybe 25 or 30 megahertz all the way up to 1.7 gig, if I remember right. Because I know Art was thinking about using it for to listen to some of the UHF single sideband nets. And it'll work for that, because as you can see here, it does wide FM, narrow FM, AM, lower and upper sideband, CW, does some raw stuff, so a little bit of everything. And so that's the software-defined radio. Cool. The thing about these is they drift quite a bit because it's cheap. It's got some really temperature-sensitive parts, and it'll drift if there's a lot of change in frequency. And for this one, I have about well, in the VHF band, it's about a 10K hertz correction I have to plug in, and in the 800 megahertz band, it's about 57 kilohertz off. So, but fortunately, all these programs I use, including that one, they let you plug in your offset. But you can spend a little more money and get the ones that are more tightly controlled.
Right. Good. Tell us a little bit about your radios and what we're looking at here.
Okay, so this is my Kenwood TM71 Alpha, and it's a dual band VHF UHF. Right now I've got a couple of common popular simplex channels where the most popular guys usually hang out. Got a little frequency counter here if I want to measure if I'm on frequency or not. This is my Yaesu 857 Delta. It's my all band all mode, and right now it's sitting over at on a 20 meter frequency that is used for whisper mode, which I'm going to show you in a little while. Also, I can take you down to the high noon net, which is probably running right now.
Priority traffic.
There you go.
Do we have any mobiles or emergency powered stations? K7JHK mobile.
What antenna are you using on this?
Arizona, K7JHK mobile, go ahead.
Yep, I'm using a 40, 20, 15, 10 combination homebrew loop.
Okay.
And in the configuration I've got it now, it's pretty much a delta loop. And we'll show you that in a little bit too. It's interfaced with Yhamradio Deluxe here. So HRD is, I'm still using the free version of it, but it's got my logbook up here, and I can also start the digital master and run PSK31 or things like that as well. Like for example here, if I just go over there, it'll start doing that. Now I have to plug in my audio and
Your sound card.
yeah, sound card stuff for that, but I can show you that a little later, or I can just demonstrate how that works with Whisper as well. But basically you have to have either a signal link or some external sound card. The way I did it, I made a custom cable that goes from the back of this radio straight into my computer sound card, and it works just fine. You have your audio out from the radio to decode your waterfall, and then that goes to the microphone jack of your PC, and then the audio out from your PC, your sound card will generate the digital output for your PSK31, and that goes back into the radio and gets transmitted.
Okay. Well, we'll come back with Whisper and show us how that's going.
All right.
Okay, David, tell us a little bit about Whisper.
All right. This is a fun mode, and for those of you that don't like to type fast with PSK31, you don't need to use a keyboard. You can just set your radio and kind of forget about it. In fact, this is what I like to run a lot when I'm working during the day, because it doesn't require any user intervention. Whisper is, as you can see here, WSPR, and it's weak signal propagation reporting. And you can go to WSPRnet.org, and you can check the activity. This happens to be the map, and you can even look in the database because it records everything that happens. So it's a fun mode. The software, again, is free. You can't get any better than free.
Yeah, really.
And it requires a setup to your radio that's similar to what you would use if you're using Yhamradio Deluxe or any of the interfaces. It works with the same interface. You do need a connection to a sound card. Again, I'm using my custom-made, homemade cable just to run straight from the radio to the computer. You have to be kind of careful about your audio modulation levels, because again, like with PSK or any other digital mode, if you're transmitting too high of an audio level, you're going to splatter and your bandwidth's going to be wider than it should be, and people won't be able to understand you. A good way to monitor that for me is just to watch my ALC output on the radio.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing here, is running Whisper mode. It's a low power, about 5 watts. Right now it's listening. You can see right here where it says receiving. And I know my input noise level is about right, because this turns yellow and red if you get outside of about a 10 dB range. Up here is kind of a sideways waterfall. These are the signals that I'm hearing every 2 minutes. So it goes in 2-minute cycles, and as you can see, it's coming up to the even minute here. So it's decoding again, and now it's gone into receive mode again for the next 2 minutes. A couple more minutes, it'll transmit. Right here is where I'm setting my transmit duty cycle. 20% of the time it's going to transmit, 80% it's going to listen.
Right.
So I can set it to 0 and just listen, or I can have it transmit once in a while. So if you go to the website, it uploads all the spots, and what you see here is a map, and here I am, N5OFQ in New Mexico, and these are all the folks that either I can hear or can hear me. And if I click on my call sign, it tells me. This guy in Dallas, I can hear him, and all these other people can hear me. Now, I haven't refreshed this since I've listened for a couple of cycles here, so let me update this, and I'll probably be hearing a lot more people now. So now you see people all over the states, and this is on 20 meters, so you can pick your band. It'll do this all over the place, but I just happen to be on 20 because this time of day it's good propagation and folks all over the world. Right. So again, if I click this now, I'm hearing all these people, and I'm heard by all these people on the last two lines.
Oh, I see. Heard by.
Yep. So, for example, I'm heard by a VE3 station from Canada, just all over the place. If I scroll down here, you can see that some folks in New Zealand and Australia can hear my 5-watt signal.
Right.
And, for example, this guy here, he hears me. And these two guys in Australia hear me.
Very cool.
And now if you look at my radio, it's transmitting. So running about 5 watts out, and it's again in the 20 meter band.
Very cool. This is called Whisper.
Weak signal propagation. So it's going to update here again in a few minutes, and I don't have to do anything with this. It runs my radio. I don't have to talk. I don't have to type.
I have to check into that. That's pretty cool.
I can even turn it down to 2 watts or 1 watt. And here's where you set that up real quick. I'll show you in the setup, the station parameters. It's got my grid, and of course you have to tell it what COM port and a few other things, the settings that go to your radio. And here's where you set your power level, and that's what reports back over the internet, and it tells the other folks what power level you're running.
Right.
So here's a list of the people that I've heard. Again, this last waterfall, you can see there were a bunch of folks in here. So I heard some new people that I didn't hear the previous time, because some of those folks are maybe transmitting every every 5th time or whatever. And of course, here's a list of those people I heard and their incoming power levels. So obviously, this guy here was really strong. A couple of these people were very strong, and you can see here what their power levels are. This guy's running 1 watt. This guy's running 5. That guy's running 2 watts. A couple of these people didn't bother to set their their output levels, so it just shows 0. But that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'll have to check that out. That's interesting, for sure. All right, well, let's get into the antennas, because I promised we'd go into that, and we'll take a look at that when we come back.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Well, we're starting to get into some antennas. Tell us what we're looking at now.
All right, well, this is ELK log periodic antenna. It's made by ELK Corporation. It comes with what you see here. It comes with the PVC, and you can add PVC pipe as needed for whatever configuration you want to use it in. But basically, it's a VHF UHF log periodic, so it's fed at the front. And as you can see here, it's got 2 different booms, and it alternates with the different elements. And what that does is it gives you VHF and UHF all in one package, and unlike the Arrow antenna for satellite use, you don't have to use a duplexer. This has about let's see, I believe it's about 9 dBi or about 7 dBd gain. So it's fun to work satellites with it. I haven't done it much this past year. But a couple of years ago, when I was down at the Chalupa Fest again, I have to plug our our annual February trip to the lake. I made a contact with a guy at the Yuma Ham Fest while I was down there, and I did it with this radio here, the Yaesu FT60. It's a nice radio for satellite use. It's not full duplex or anything, but you can program different band offsets. So if you're trying to work a satellite in the UHF band and it receives on VHF, you can set the radio up to transmit on UHF and then receive back on VHF. So it works. All you need is about 5 watts and an antenna like this or the Arrow to work satellites, but it also works just fine using it when you need a little extra gain in either band.
Sure.
And so nice thing about log periodic is it's got low SWR across quite a wide bandwidth. So I can even use this with my GMRS if I want to. I've got a GMRS license. I'm not only N5OFQ, I'm also WQTU 995, which is
a mouthful there.
Which is you pay the FCC $85 and you've got a 5-year license. So I got that and decided to put a radio in the car for my wife so that if she forgets her cell phone or something in any emergency, she can use the radio to talk back to me. Don't know if you guys knew this, but there's 2 GMRS repeaters up on top of the crest and another one in the far northeast heights. So there's plenty of coverage around town for GMRS as well.
Right.
And that's actually what these 2 radios here do. They look like your regular
family type of radio.
FRS, GMRS radios, but they're actually repeater capable. So,
cool.
So they work as well for that. But so this is one of my antennas, and I'm thinking about putting it on the roof permanently with a rotor, and getting rid of my vertical antenna.
Okay.
Because this will get me a little more gain around town and help me on some of those.
What's the price of that type of antenna? What are we looking at?
Okay, well the elk antennas start out about 120, either 125 or 129, I forget now, for just the aluminum. If you want this black powder coated aluminum, I think it's maybe 149. But the takedown is pretty easy on these 2. They're color matched, so it's easy to tell where they screw on. And if you didn't have those, it's basically just take your longest element and work toward the front with the shorter ones. So,
right.
But it's a great little antenna. In fact, I got rid of my 2-meter beam, and I'd like to sell my 440 beam as well, because why have several beams when all you need is one antenna for 2 bands?
Very good. All right, let's go take a look at the other one. Okay, we're out here on the balcony. And tell us what we're going to be looking at.
All right, well, I've got 2 antennas outdoors, and I do live in a restricted antenna community. Right. So hopefully next year the Congress will pass that bill we've all been hoping, so we can put up the 50-foot towers in our neighborhood and annoy all our neighbors. So anyway, I try to keep things a little stealthy. This is my VHF UHF vertical. It's a Jetstream. And it's a gain antenna, not much, but it's got a little bit of gain to it. And that's what I talk on all the sideband and FM nets on VHF, UHF, when I don't have the elk out here portable.
Right.
So, and it also doubles as my TV antenna.
That's it.
So I've got an antenna switch in the house, and when I just want to watch TV and I switch it over, and it does pretty well receiving from the crest because it's line of sight. The other antenna I've got is this homebrew Delta Loop. I bought about 140 feet of wire. Well, actually I bought a 500-foot spool, but it's I bought 14 gauge stranded wire that's insulated. And I bought a specific type. I don't remember exactly what it's called at the moment, but you know, there's all kinds of wire that you can get. There's even electric fence wire, aluminum fence wire you can buy for about $20.
Right.
That's 14 to 16 gauge. That's you can get a quarter mile of it for about $30. So, but you can't see it from here. But if we were to get on the roof, which you tell me, we might do it in a few minutes. There'll be a 4-to-1 balun up there, which I got from Balun Designs. Okay. And that balun feeds this loop right there at the apex of the roof. And about 140 feet of wire goes down around the 2 trees and back. And the foliage really doesn't affect it. Of course, I use a tuner with it, even though it doesn't really need one. but it's effective on 40, 20, 15, and 10.
Cool.
And like I say, roughly 140 feet. You cut it a little long and then start trimming it to tune, because the height above ground, the trees, just the general shape of it's going to affect your tuning a little bit. So you always cut it a little long and then trim to get your best SWR. So I can use it on those 4 bands without a tuner. If I'm doing PSK 31 or something digital in the low part of the 40 meter band, it's a little out of tune, but I'm only running 5 watts there and I've got a tuner, so still works out good. And of course I can get on the 75 meter band, 75-80 if I use my tuner, but it's not very efficient at all. So, but those are the 2 antennas I've got. And this 80 meter, this 40, 20, 15, 10 loop is very quiet. Nice thing about a loop is their low noise level, and it gets out great. I never have any trouble getting into the high noon net, and it's probably the best antenna I've ever owned, and it's the only one I've ever built. So next to the G5RV, I didn't have much luck with a Wyndham. I also tried a long wire back to the tree there that was cut to resonate on all the bands with a 9-to-1 balun, but again it didn't work too well. This loop's the best antenna I've ever used.
Great. Well, that may help others that are, kind of antenna restricted as well. All right, well, let's take you mentioned PSK. We'll finish up there and take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay, we're back here at the shack, and we've heard a lot about PSK and people using that digital mode. Can you tell us exactly how it's set up and what is it?
Sure. I don't use it very often, but I've made quite a few contacts. Just about a week ago I talked to a guy in St. Louis and one over in Sparks, Nevada. So it's a low power digital setup, so anybody that's kind of antenna restricted or power restricted can easily get into this. It does require some typing, so if you're quick with a keyboard it helps. Right here I'm listening, you can see the waterfall. I'm listening to a guy in California who's out in the Mojave. And here you can actually see what the other what the 2 guys are typing and talking to each other. So this W6PZA, I did a quick lookup of him on QRZ, and he's out in Redding, California. So Redding's actually in Northern California, but it is kind of hot out there. I think the other guy was down in the Mojave, because I heard him talking about it. Maybe they were just discussing it, but. Oh yeah, he says, once I was in the Mojave, it was very, very windy, 60 mile an hour, sand everywhere. So anyway, it's kind of interesting sometimes just to sit back and watch what other people are talking about.
Right.
It's different in that you watch them instead of listening, but all you have to do is take your mouse and put it over one of the PSK signals here. For example, I'll switch over to another one here. I'll click on it, and it auto-tunes. And now we hear a KC3FL calling CQ, looks like. So, and this is this program. I'm using the free version of Yhamradio Deluxe, and within Yhamradio Deluxe there is a module called DM780, Digital Master 780, and that's what's running over here. You can run PSK, Olivia. You can decode CQ, just a lot of different digital modes. Doesn't do Whisper, at least not this version. I doubt if it'll ever be incorporated, but it might. And again, this is the free version of Yhamradio Deluxe, but they are selling the newer versions that supposedly has more bells and whistles if you want to pay for it and have support and all that. It's actually a purchased item now, but you can still, as far as I know, still get the free version. Yeah. But that's what's coming out of this Yaesu 857 here is the PSK 31 now on 20 meters.
Very good, very good. Well, we're gonna give our 7.3s, and before we go, just tell us, would you recommend the hobby to others, and why?
Well, absolutely. I've enjoyed it for years. Back when I was a child, my dad used to say that I'd be in something like this one day because I was always tearing radios apart and trying to put them back together. And I think more often than not, I didn't get them back together. But he said I could always fix anything, and so it's it's a good tinkering hobby with people that like to do that. But yet, if you don't like getting in on the circuit boards and soldering things and building things, that's fine. There's something for everybody.
Right.
There are digital modes. You can work satellites. You can even bounce signals off the moon and back to other folks. You can just put a radio in your car and talk to your friends around town. There's more and more that you can do with a computer. It's such a large hobby that there's something for everybody, and there's just an endless variety of things that you can experiment with anymore because there's so much coming out with computers and digital products that are changing the landscape.
Right.
But it's great for people that maybe can't get around too well. As we know, we lost a dear friend recently who was bedridden, and it was a great aid to him and a great hobby. So folks that can't get around real well, even people who have issues like they're blind or whatever, there's it's a great hobby for folks that are disabled too. So there really is something for everybody, unless you just don't like talking to people or don't like radios. I think it's a hobby that more people should be involved in, and more people should become acquainted with. I guess it's up to us to share the knowledge and try to get people involved.
Get the bug. Yeah. Thank you so much. We sure do appreciate it. And like you said, with our friend, we should say always keep smiling. And thank you for taking the time to tell us why ham radio.
It was a pleasure having you over.
Yeah, 7-3.
7-3.
That's David, N5OFQ, for Why Ham Radio, February 2015. Did you enjoy it, Sammy? I did. And come back on the website, www.w5mhg, to see some more next month on Why Ham Radio. Everybody's got a story. 7-3.